Enormously. I mean, I guess one of my great learnings was also my grandfather, Prithviraj Kapoor, used to always say that, you know, the greatest temples of our times are the theatres, and no matter who you're sitting next to, you could be sitting next to somebody from a completely different background, different religion, different anything, and yet you're all equal at that moment in time when you're in the theatre and you're watching a show. And for a child it's even more so, because they actually give themselves so much to the process, and so openly and completely. Grown-ups have a little bit of hitchhike sometimes, especially when you're doing a workshop, but children just completely give themselves. And especially in urban centers and big cities, I think it's really critically important that we bring opportunities more and more, we create more and more opportunities where children can dive into the arts engagements with other children from different backgrounds. And we've done some work in this area with our workshops in Junoon, and we will continue to do so, because we believe that what happens in this process when you get a child who comes from a completely different background, you're not necessarily going to make friends for life, and that's not the aim, but you actually realize, my God, there's another person who has similar likes and has similar dislikes, or things that I recognize, and yet there is a way. So there is a way of touching that life and crossing over that bridge and saying, it's not so alien to me. We're living in a world where we're covered with more and more barriers and more gates that compartmentalize us into, whether it's neighborhoods or whether it's even, you know, our workspaces. And I think the arts are fundamentally just opening that up. They can, if used well, can open up these spaces. And it's thrilling. For me, once there was a workshop where we had a bunch of kids from an NGO, and a mother came in, and she came in to sign up her child, her daughter. Her daughter must have been 12, and very well heeled family, obviously. And she walked in and all these kids, and she sort of took a double take, and she said, well, maybe we should do another workshop. Can I sign up for something else? And I said, of course you can. You know, it's not started, you decide. But I talked to her about what the process was going to be, and it was a 10-day workshop. And she very hesitantly allowed her child to enter. The child didn't care two hoots about where she was. The child went in, a very shy young girl. And what was so thrilling for me was, after 10 days, when I went to the last day of the workshop, was not the child. I knew the child would have a wonderful time. Was the face of the mother who was in heaven. Because obviously her daughter had come home every day and told her what was going on in the workshop. And then we saw this presentation, and it was just amazing with how these children worked together in this incredible way and created the most amazing work and improvisations. And to have had that effect on the mother was really, really powerful as well. And that's the world we have to create, because we are getting more and more disparate. We are getting, you know, the gaps are getting larger and larger. And unless we do something consciously, I really truly believe, very personally, and this is not necessarily Junoon's belief, but I believe that we're going to create a very violent world. And we need to use the arts to really bridge that gap and say we can talk. Why does violence happen? Is when you're stuck and you think you can't really communicate and there is no other path. And this is one way of saying, no, there is a space where we can actually touch our humanness. And so that's important.